Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. You talked a little bit about your culture already. Win the day every day. With that idea, culture is a buzzword that gets thrown around, but it's how we show up. It's how we want to do things. How does that drive performance?
I'll tell you this. I think that culture is almost directly tied to performance, especially when we talk about high school basketball. So if you have a team that, let's say you got a 20-point lead, character comes into play that last 30 seconds. Do those kids hold the ball out and stall it, or do they shoot it again? I think your culture dictates your performance in that. Or are you a team that could come back when you're down from a big run? Your culture dictates that as well, I feel like, drives performance. And then I think another good scenario is tough games. I say it all the time, tough teams win tough games. That toughness can be built in the weight room. It can be built by, putting your kids in tough scenarios and practice, and all that stuff is culture based, because if you got a strong culture, kids are going to bond together for a common cause. I'll tell you something else I think when it comes to culture specifically is those mental cues and those words have power. I think words have power. I've kind of seen other podcasts and people say that, culture is just words. I think if as a head coach and as assistant coaches, you kind of have a plan of what culture words we're saying and how we're going to say it different times. Like for us, for example, we pretty much have kind of 3 tiers to our culture. And so the first one, we talk about player characteristics. So what do we want our players to have? So we'll talk about unselfishness, discipline, and toughness a lot. Okay, so those are our 3 player characteristics that we emphasize all the time. I'm always talking about it. Assistant coaches are talking about it. We also have, how do we want to look as a collective and a group? So for us, that's our 4 program pillars: trust, enthusiasm, integrity, and unity. And then what's the big picture? So when kids walk out of this school, Southeastern High School, and when they're adults, we want them to be men of impact. We want them to be men of high attainment. And they practice that, here at the school. For example, I like to say men instead of young men, because I feel like other cultures, they have kind of rites of passage to where you become a man at early ages. Just African tribes, just kind of throw it out there. They might have a rites of passage at like 14, 15. Different cultures, they had that rites of passage into manhood early. So for me, it's like, if I'm in charge of these young men to really grow them up, I'm going to refer to you as a man and expect you to behave in a certain way, and so that's kind of like a nutshell of what our culture is and how we build it. I think when we talk about those player characteristics, that's stuff that has to be kind of embedded in you. And a lot of that starts with us. We got a workout we call the fourth quarter workout. And so that was created by my assistant coaches and myself. And basically what that fourth quarter workout is a 20-minute high intensity interval workout. It's not necessarily about building strength. It's about building those player characteristics. So basically how it would work is, and hopefully I'm not, being too wordy.
No, it's good.
But how it would work, the fourth quarter workout is, so we'll have 4 stations. Each station will have a lift and a rack. That could be bench press, squat, whatever the lift is. Okay, then they'll have another spot in the station that's a calisthenic workout. It's burpees, jump tucks, whatever. Then there's another station where they're lifting a barbell, or let's just say they're lifting a kettlebell, right? And so the workout is constant movement through each step, right? So you're literally going 20 minutes lifting something, jumping some kind of way, or doing something for 20 minutes. And so that last, let's say 2 minutes, we bring them all together. And so this is where that unselfishness comes in. Last 2 minutes, we bring them all together and they might have to do, let's just say, burpees for a constant 2 minutes. Now, if you quit in that 2 minutes and you're selfish, then the 2 minutes starts over. And everybody has to do that exercise for 2 minutes. And so I think that's where the unselfishness comes in. Because
Yeah.
if you're tired and you quit, guess what? You've hurt everybody in this fourth quarter workout. Or let's just say you're just lacking the toughness you need or the discipline or whatever. And so we instill it that way, but then we also instill that stuff with a lot of the social things that we do. Like our parents are good about inviting kids over to the house to just hang out. We've had crawfish boils. We've done different like projects at the school. We've opened the gym up after a parent meeting and had a social where we played like dominoes and cards and things. So for me, culture definitely, at least in my experiences, drove performance. Everywhere I've been, I've seen that be the case.
Man, I think you nailed it. Culture is everything. It's everything that you do. What I love about what the kind of some of the notes I just jotted down, like player characteristics, like that could be skill based, but could also be some of those intangibles that we look for. Then you go into the 4 pillars, things that guys can that kind of rules or ideas that they have to live by. You include the workout, the weight room in your culture. Like my point is culture is everything. I think we're guilty sometimes of compartmentalizing culture to small bits, small times. Here's our
Yeah.
practice plan. Hey, culture moment, culture moment. Like there's nothing wrong with a quote at the beginning. There's nothing wrong with one slogan for the year. Like all of those things are good. But if you just check the box of culture with that, but then it's never addressed again. It's no standards are upheld again. Your weight room, like a great question for coaches, does your weight room workout look like your on-court workout? Because I think as coaches, we're very good about our on-court workouts being hyped, energetic,
Yeah.
enthusiastic. We all have a plan. All right, we go to the weight room and coaches huddle together over at the side and talk. There's no spirit, no enthusiasm. Like then you talked about bringing in the other stakeholders in your program, because coach, it's not just me, you, and players. It's our parents. They are a part of the culture with us. And I've been guilty of keeping them at an arm's length before. But instead of that, bring all the stakeholders together and let them be co-creators of that culture and feel like they're a part of it, man. I think you nailed it.
Yeah, because I think as coaches, we got to tap into all the voices that influence them. Because if you have parents that are just outright against you, it's going to be hard to get that kid to move in the way you want them to. And so, for me, I'll just say since I've been in South Houston, I try to be personable with parents, for the most part, but also you got to try to keep a healthy distance as well. But I think with all of that, the more your parents are bought in, it's definitely going to aid. And then when you talk about like administration and the people around you, the more that they're bought in and supportive, I think the more the kid is going to be able to give you and a better experience that they're going to have. And so when we talk about culture, it's not just varsity, it's our
Yeah.
freshmen, and it's our JV and everybody that's involved in the puzzle.
Coach, have you always been that conscious of building that culture from your freshmen all the way up, including parents? Is that something you always have done? It's just natural for you? You saw somebody do it right, or you just learned over time?
Man, I saw some people do it right. So my first experience as a coach, I was a student assistant at Sam Houston State. This is back in like 2004 when Bob Marlin was a coach. And so at that location, then I was at University of Houston when Tom Penders was there as a grad assistant. And so both of those locations, that's probably about 4 years of my life, man. I was a sponge. I soaked up things. I wrote down. I had my little basketball Bibles where I would write down all kind of notes about things. And so both of those places won. Both of those places had players that went and played overseas. Both of those coaches, specifically Tom Penders, is a college basketball Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
Bob Marlin is still coaching Louisiana Lafayette, and then even the assistant coaches there. I learned a whole lot from those guys, and they gave me the ability to really access like everything from the coaching side of the program. They used me. Sometimes they would use me on the scout team to play against the players, and sometimes they would let me help with video. Sometimes they would, let me help with scout. And so, man, I'm really indebted to those guys and all that information. So to answer your question, I think that's where I was able to see good culture because, like, even that staff at Sam Houston State, a lot of those guys that were on that team, they've helped me in my career. Like, matter of fact, Marcus Ebo hired me in my first high school job at Goose Creek Memorial, and he played at Sam Houston State. My best friend played on Sam Houston's team, and then U of H. I have connections from players at U of H, and so all of that culture. When I was talking earlier about as a man, being a man of impact and high attainment, I've witnessed that as a young man through basketball, being involved with different cultures at different colleges and things like that. Because for me, man, I'm a pretty much a middle low caste kid from Angleton, Texas. Didn't have the money to travel a lot of places, but basketball has taken me all over the world since I was young. Places I would have never been able to go or see if it wasn't for the game. So that's pretty much where I get a lot of the culture stuff because I've seen it done other places.
Man, great reminder along our basketball journeys to make sure that we always look to cultivate those relationships that are right around us. You never know. You never know when a relationship with a opposing coach, somebody that you're working for, players, like you said, may come back and be really important for you, and not doing it in a way like you're always trying to get something, but those relationships that the people God puts in our lives, like there are purposes for that. I think when you got tunnel vision and maybe you're not zooming out enough to really take advantage of those moments, then you might be missing out.
Absolutely.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.